Right in the heart of a silver bullet.
Yeah, I think they plotting on man. Don't wipe their feet when they enter the lab. I feel a cold stare.
This is a horse inside a horse walker, a machine built to keep him walking in circles all day. One day, he figures out the machine only works if he keeps cooperating with it. The machine never stopped running, and the horse just stopped believing he had to. He took his power back. Humans face the same choice every day. Sometimes the biggest prison isn't the system around us. It's the belief that we have no choice but to keep walking in circles. Many of us spend our entire lives running in circles, chasing money, status, and approval without ever asking who told us we had to. Sometimes freedom begins the moment you realize the machine only works if you keep participating. The moment you realize you don't have to keep walking in circles, the machine doesn't disappear. You just stop giving it control over your direction.
What's happening? Why the system or race? Damn, the rat race works. When y'all hear people talk like that, people go, yeah, no. So let's just say you want to check out of the machine and the system and the matrix, and you can't afford to. Who's going to have to afford you not participating? Somebody else. Normally, your family until they get tired of you, or your friends, right? So when they say, oh man, I don't have to participate. The reason why it works so well is because of family. That's why. Because you might not want to keep doing it, but your family is dependent on it. Let's just say, hypothetically, you say people go, I'm just not paying anything ever again. Okay, cool. You're gonna be homeless. That's what's gonna happen. Because basically part of capitalism, um, part of it is to monetize yourself and your family. You know, companies and systems monetize yourself and your family. And somewhat when y'all talk it's slavery, it ain't slavery, but the concept came from slavery because part of part of how they kept people on plantations, it wasn't just it was family. Because sometimes, that was why, in a general sense, they didn't want the fathers to know who their kids were. He said, I guess y'all didn't know that, but whatever. But that's how they kept people there. If you leave your kids, your wife, your kid, your girl's gonna be we go. You know what we gonna do? It's that. So they just put that in a business format. You know, I don't want to pay the lights anymore. Okay, they're gonna be off. But I'm gonna go solar. Go solar. Like it's a reason why even you know um, the Amish are the only group really unplugged from the system, and they're doing stuff that you be like, damn, how come we can't do that? Because you got to unplug from everything else. That's why. That's why you can't do that. And some people are saying they're willing, but most people who are willing aren't really willing, and a lot of people who are able, um, they might not be consistent because you might have to do it alone. So this country is basically dependent on people working themselves to death to provide for their families. And when you have young folks like I'm not having kids, I can't afford this, I can't afford a car, I can't afford an apartment. I hear you, but food ain't free, and the amenities that you grew up with aren't free either, and that's the issue because you can't live with your parents forever. You can't live off your friends forever. And if I'm not mistaken, they say Americans work more than other people in the world. I'm not too sure about that. I think they're some of those third world countries, they work way more than us. They just get paid way less. You get what I'm saying? But it's the same premise because that's an extension of capitalism. They're working to provide for their families. And just because you stop doing it doesn't mean like I'm gonna stop. I'm smarter than everybody. No, you're more selfish. Unfortunately, I gotta say it that way because somebody has to take the slack to take care of you when you decide to unplug, and that's why I say you're gonna wind up homeless. I have, family members who are like that. Y'all stupid. I don't know why y'all do this. Yeah, but you've been living on the streets for 15 years. When it get too hard for you, you come over here, you get a hot shower, you get in some new clothes, you get some food, and then you talk crazy to everybody who's providing this for you, and then you run back out on the streets and act like you smart, and then a month later you come back. So is unplugging from the matrix a good thing? You gotta make your own thing. And that's why partially with the fake freedoms in America, um, the hypocrisy of the bureaucracy. That's why a lot of people can't just uh, cultivate rainwater, or you know if I build my own solar panels and I can unplug from the system per se. You know, I want to be off the grid. That's why people have a problem with it, because off the grid means you can't pay somebody. How dare you try to be free? And when that's a problem, hey man, we might take this land from you and figure out a way to tax you to oblivion. You know, because we don't like that you trying to be free in the country we say is free. Same thing with what was that? Those Chinese electric vehicles, those EVs, when they were like, man, they making some dope electrical vehicles over there, and they very affordable. It's like, no, we're gonna this a tariff, baby. It might be 30 over there, but it's gonna be 60 here. It's like, oh, okay, it's 22 over there, but it's gonna be 44 over here, and it's like, oh wow, wow. See, that freedom of option, the freedom of choice is taken away. You have to get rich to quote unquote free yourself. And then you got to be smart with that, because if you're not and you lose everything, you're back to square one. And people try to, and that's why sometimes people don't trust people, even financial people, financial advisors and whatnot, because they steal a lot. And now your life savings, or part of your life's work is gone because you know you weren't quote unquote paying attention to your quote unquote finances, and that becomes a problem because the other people don't want to say, part of plugging out of the rat race is sometimes people get lazy because they can pay everybody else to do something, but they're not. But you're paying people that know you don't pay attention, which causes a problem in the long term for you. But you have those two sides of the coin with this stuff. To me, at the end of the day, you know, you don't work, you don't eat. That's kind of biblical. You know what I'm saying? So, but um, America got into the way of, when we even talk about entrepreneurship, it's a lot of, you can go do it for sure, but there might be a lot of red tape in that too, depending on which industry you're in. There's less red tape in some industries, and there's more in others. So, but it's all to basically, if you make a mistake, we taking everything, and it's like, oh my goodness. So even if you stop participating, the whole system is going on around you. The system not gonna stop because you stop. You're gonna have to depend on somebody in the system to keep going since you stopped. And even with that, it's kind of like work history. Like I stepped from the matrix for 3 or 4 or 5 years. What were you doing? What is this gap about? Now I can't get a job because of the gap. It's crazy. But I'm gonna leave it at that, man. You tell me what you think. Catch you on the next one. Peace.